In sports, the scoreboard doesn't tell the full story, but Netflix does. Stories about dads who happen to be world-class quarterbacks and a battle for the heart, soul, and direction of the multi-billion-dollar business of F1. Whether you're a diehard fan or you're brand new, Netflix has the stories for every type of fan. You can watch these incredible sports stories like Quarterback, F1 Drive to Survive, Untold, and many more now on Netflix.
Hello and welcome to a new podcast, The Paddock and the Pavilion with Stephen Wallace. In each show, Stephen will interview someone connected to the world of horse racing or cricket.
Hello and welcome to The Paddock and the Pavilion. Today we are back in the pavilion with Warwickshire's opening bowler, Oliver Hannon-Dalby, before we take a short break until early December. Remember to let your friends know about the podcast, give us a rating and subscribe to the show on all the usual outlets. Welcome to The Paddock and the Pavilion, Ollie.
Thank you for having me. Nice to be here.
Well, thanks for joining me in the pavilion. What's life like as a professional cricketer in November during a lockdown?
Well, in a normal year in November, we'd just be sort of creeping back to, it's middle of November now, we'd just be creeping back towards getting back in the ground. So the dreaded fitness testing. You've spent October is our time off, so you spent October doing what you want, various end of season do's, bit of golf and whatnot. So you've let yourself get out of shape in October. And there's the dreaded going back to the ground for the fitness testing. You've got the bleep test, the yo-yo test, and we do fat tests. So there's various sites all over your body where the S&C will come and pinch you and see how fat you've got. So that's not happening this year, which some will quite like, because that big test that see how fat you've got over October is not going to be there. But we've literally just got through this week. We've got a fitness program come through, so it's sort of crack on yourselves at home and get on with your own fitness work at home, really. So that's what we're doing.
And you've been working a little bit on the bear pods as well, I've heard on the Twitter feeds. Yeah.
Something we do throughout the summer, really. It coincides with the T20 campaign normally. So it's the Bears Pod Blast. And it's a podcast much like your own, and we just talk a lot of nonsense about cricket. Really, it's good fun.
Yeah, well, I've listened to them a little bit, so they are quite good fun. But before talking about your career, you're the PCA rep for Warwickshire. I wanted to get an insight into the effect, short, medium, and long term of COVID on county cricketers. We hear about footballers' salaries and things like that, but contract-wise, job security. What can you tell me about that?
Well, I mean, it's much like every industry, really. Massive upheaval, massive sort of uncertainty, really. In the short term, a lot was sort of sacrificed this year. I don't know the exact figure. I should do. I think it's about £6 million the players sort of helped put back into the game. We all accepted pay cuts, and we all sacrificed various pots of prize money. As well as little bit of our pension payments from the clubs, just to help the clubs out, really, and to make sure clubs didn't go bust. So in the immediate term, players sacrificed a little bit this summer. We, like I say, pay cuts and whatnot, and prize money. In the medium term, there's just uncertainty. We just don't know. I mean, a cricket career is uncertain as it is. You've only signed 2-year contracts, really, maybe a 3-year deal. So you've always got uncertainty hanging over your head about is this my last year as a cricketer? And given that crowds are not allowed in grounds right now, most clubs have this uncertainty about their finances. So just massive sort of uncertainty about whether are you going to get a contract next year? Is the club going to go under? All that sort of thing is difficult to deal with. And I think it's already been documented. The ECB saying that if they can't have crowds next year, we won't see the bubbles that they put on this year. I mean, just to watch the cricket this year, I thought was absolutely brilliant. The Pakistan series, the West Indies series, I thought was absolutely great. But I think the ECB have already said that cost a hell of a lot of money, and they won't be sort of doing that again, or they can't afford to do that again. And that trickles down. That trickles down to county cricket. That'll trickle down to club cricket. It's not great. So hopefully, we're all hoping that by the summer we'll be able to get crowds in and get things going again.
Well, thank you for that. Do you think that some players might just, like in years gone by, just be on summer contracts rather than 12-month ones?
Well, I mean, it's sort of Trickily, this has come as a real tricky time because the PCA have gone to massive lengths to sort of stop that happening. Literally, we just signed a deal at the end of last year, this new county partnership agreement to look after lads, because there was a bit of almost naughtiness, I think, sometimes, where a young lad straight out of uni might get given a summer deal for not a lot of money. And when you think about the hours a player might work, like I said, it is still work when you start getting paid and whatnot. It equated to not a lot of cash, and it wasn't right. So the PCA went to great lengths to stop that, and we've got this new county partnership agreement. Unfortunately, COVID's happened, and now, I'll probably take that summer contracts might make sense financially for clubs again, and might make sense for players. Like I say, perfect cases if you're at uni. You being a young lad, maybe a summer contract might make sense. So that's above my pay grade, I'm afraid. But I could see that happening again. Yeah.
Well, there's some interesting points there, but let's go back to your own career. Take you back to the beginning. When did you first start to play cricket?
I probably first started playing when I was about 10 years old. I mean, I grew up at cricket clubs, really. I grew up in Halifax. My dad played, my uncles played, my cousin played for local teams. So, I mean, my mum tells a story that I went down to the cricket ground, my first cricket club, when I was 5 days old. So I was always there, much like most young men who grew up at cricket clubs, learned to bat and bowl in the outfield, playing football in the outfield, riding my bike on the outfield, just sort of loving life down at a sunny cricket club on a Saturday afternoon was a great way to spend your weekend. So, I was always in and around the cricket club, but sort of playing competitively. I'd have been about 10 years old when I finally started playing games, I think.
You're not always very popular with the groundsman when you're on your cycle, but...
No, probably not. But that's, like I say, it's probably the case all over the country that, little kids are there watching the dads play and causing carnage on the sidelines.
That's right. But when did you first think you could play cricket for a living?
I did it. It was really fortuitous, really. I was the only person at my school who played cricket, really, literally. It was a football school, it was a rugby league school. Playing cricket, everyone was sort of frowned at you, saying, "What are you doing that for? What a wally sport that is." But because I was the only person at school who played cricket, when the school got an email or a letter saying there's Yorkshire trials, have you got anyone who might be interested? I was literally the only one in the school who might be interested. So it was a school teacher who sent me for the trial, and luckily, I did well and got through. I think there were 2 or 3 trials I had to get through to get picked for the under 15 B team at the time at Yorkshire. And sort of from then on in, I was like, oh wow, this is amazing. This is something I'd love to do. And it was just, it was just a progression of, right, I started in the B team, I want to get in the A team. And once I got in the A team, I wanted to, get on the Yorkshire scholarship programme. I wanted to, it just sort of progressed from there. So I'd say from the age of about 15, 16, I thought, I want to give this a really good go. This is exciting. I could really make something of this. Yeah, definitely.
And because of your height, when did you get this tall? Because you're 6'7", is it?
I'm 6'8". I was always tall. As long as I can remember, I was, the tallest in class at school from, reception. But I've been about this high, I'd say, since I was about 18, 19. But I mean, I was always, really tall for my age. But I think I stopped growing probably about 18, 19. I'm still waiting to fill out. That hasn't happened yet. I was always told throughout my childhood, you're skinny lad, you'll fill out eventually. You'll stop growing and fill out. I've not filled out yet, so maybe that'll happen when I'm 40, maybe.
So when did you join the Yorkshire Academy, and were there any people that we know that were there at the time you were at the academy?
Oh yeah, gosh. I mean, so like I said, the progression was you were an age group cricketer at Yorkshire and you want to get on the programme, which sort of meant you were on the fringe of the academy. And I think that would have happened when I was 15, 16. And it was great. I mean, Yorkshire's quite a tough setup. There's thousands of cricket clubs in Yorkshire. Thousands of kids want to play cricket. So it was quite a ruthless environment. And, the guys in the academy with me would be, Joe Root was there as a very young lad. I think he would be 2 or 3 years younger than me, but they sort of got him on very early. Johnny Bester was there, was a year younger than me. Adam Lythe, the year above me. Adil Rashid, a year above that. And then a few years older was Ads Mochazad, Steve Patterson, a few Gale, people like that. So, there were a lot of good cricketers flying around, and it was a good environment.
So did Joe Root stand out even at 2 or 3 years younger than the age group?
Like I said, it was probably more than that. I reckon he's 4 years younger than me. It was this 12-year-old lad who, I think he was on the academy, but he wasn't there all the time because I think he was probably still doing schoolwork and whatnot. But yeah, when he turned up, he was just this tiny little lad with a perfect technique. But he couldn't hit it very far. But everyone sort of knew, like, gosh, when he gets a bit bigger and stronger, he's going to be frightening because he just looked technically so brilliant straight away, really. But in my actual age group, there's not many. I think it was me and Ben Sanderson that sort of left. Sando plays for Northampton, obviously, he's a very good bowler. He was my exact age on the academy. Yeah, so it was me and Ben Sanderson, the ones who were left, really.
Well, I'm going to take you back now to looking up your first second team game, whether you probably were at the academy then in July 2006. Yeah. And you played at the playing fields at Stamford Bridge. Now, the name sort of rang a bell with me. Obviously, it's not the football ground, Stamford Bridge, but this is the battleground where Saxon King Harold lost to the Vikings, or was defeated to the Vikings in 1066. But
no, he won. Harold Godwinson beat Harold.
Oh, Harold won. Yes, sorry, I've not read my notes very carefully here. So yeah, this was when Harold won. Yes, yeah. And then he walked down all the way down to Hastings and then lost in his next match. Yeah.
I remember doing it at A-level, and it was very fortuitous from what I remember, the fact that he had to unfortunately go up to beat Harold Hardrada at Stamford Bridge. And then just as he beat him, the wind changed, and William I won't say what he was called at the time, William the Beep, the wind changed, and he was able to get over the coast, wasn't he? So the minute he finished at Stamford Bridge, he had to trek all the way down to Hastings and then take William.
Yeah, it's a long walk, it's a long trek down there. But anyway, back to your first game against Warwickshire, actually. And I noticed it was a 12-a-side game, but only 11 people batted. Yeah, I mean, that still happens now. I mean, in second team cricket, you've obviously got quite a lot of lads. You might have lads there from the first team. It's quite a big mix. So you might have a first team player and a lad from the academy. So that playing 12 works really well in the second team. Like I say, it still happens now, just for the fact that bowlers might want to, you can bowl more bowlers. A young lad who's a bowler in the academy, you get to have a look at him without, you're not necessarily that bothered about his batting type thing. So playing 12 in the second team always works pretty well. And you were the one that didn't bat, yeah. Yeah, I think I was the one that didn't bat for about 3 years. What do you remember about that game? Yeah, I remember my debut. Stamford Bridge was always glorious. The sun always shines when you play in York. I don't know why. So yeah, we always got a good crowd in Stamford Bridge. You'd always have about 500 people there watching. I remember I bowled okay, but I was making my debut, and a peer of mine, James Lee, he was the same age as me, and he bowled brilliantly at the other end. He got fifer. So obviously, as a young lad, you're not really knowing what they're about. I was like, oh, Jimmy's got fifer. I need a few wickets type thing. But it's obviously not the way it works. But I remember bowling pretty well. We had a good side out. We had Matthew Wood out. We had Richard Dawson out, as well as a few young lads. But yeah, I remember it was a good game. I can't remember if we won or not, but I remember Warwickshire had a good side out. Jim Trout was playing. Woksy was playing. I think Ian Westwood might have played as well. I can't remember. But I do remember my first wicket was Nick Warren. Nick Warren bowled was my first wicket in the second innings. So yeah, I remember a bit about it, but I can't quite remember the result, if I'm honest. Well, move forward then to your first class debut for Yorkshire, which was against Surrey in May 2008. And your first wicket was Mark Ramprakash. Yeah, it was. He was. There was a bit of fanfare at the time because he was on 9900s. Oh, was it that time? Was it? Yeah. Yeah. So I think it must be quite a tough situation. He might have got his. Was it May that game was? Did you say May or June? It's May, because he was on that 99 for quite a while, if I remember, wasn't he? Yeah. That's what I was going to say. Is he got his 99th 100 in maybe the April, like straight away. So he had TV crews following him around for the entire summer, really. And it wasn't until the return fixture of that summer when they played Yorkshire at Headingley. So that might have been in the August. He got it then, but. Like I said, there was a big fanfare about him on his 9900s, and he nicked one to second slip off me on about 27, something like that. So yeah, there was a big fanfare about getting him out on debut, and he was on 9900s.
At the other end, though, there wasn't much written about the fact that Mark Butcher smacked me all over the ground. He got 200 and he got a brilliant double hundred and just whacked me everywhere. He was scary to bowl at the time. So there's some nice headlines about me getting Rampa Cash out, but not too much written about Butcher smacking me around, which was nice.
Well, what did it mean to play for Yorkshire for the first time though, as a Yorkshire lad as well?
Yeah, it was great. I mean, it was like all the training sessions you do in the winter, all the training you do on your own, all the running out, in the cold and the rain. You're thinking about, and it's all for that. It's all for making your debut. It's all for doing well and playing for Yorkshire. So to do it and to play in such a great team, there's some great cricketers in that team. We had Brezzy playing, we had Ran Naveed playing, Dion Cruz, Andrew Gale, Jack Rudolph. I think I was actually, I was taking over from Darren Goff. Darren Goff was injured, so I actually took his spot in the team. Which was nice to see replace Goff there. Was pretty, but it was a bit of a wake up call because like I say, I played that game and I did get a wicket and I bowled okay. It was a really flat pitch, as it always tends to be when a seamer makes their debut. But it was a bit of a wake up call that it was tough to play first class cricket, and I've been bowling well in the second team up to that, hence me getting picked. But it was definitely a bit of a realization that if that's what it's like, I've got a bit more improving to do really. And I don't think I played another first class game. Well, I didn't play another first class game the entire next year, and had to wait until 2010 to play my next game. So it was brilliant, but I had a bit of improving to do, which I luckily did.
Well, 2010 you had a good season. You got 34 wickets. Then in 11 and 12 you didn't play that much for Yorkshire.
Yeah, so 2010 was great. Like played every game like you mentioned, and did well, got a few fifers, and then just the next few seasons struggled. I don't know why. I don't know if it was just sophomore syndrome, as they call it. People are a bit more aware of you in your second year, but struggled a bit the next couple of years for a bit of form. Struggled to get in the team regularly. Played a few games, but sort of was in and out. And then maybe when I was in, putting a bit too much pressure on myself. And then the club sort of decided to sign other players, which they were perfectly within the rights to do. Like I said, I wasn't sort of playing well regularly, so we signed people like Plunkett, Siddy came back, Jack Brooks came, who obviously all did amazingly well for Yorkshire and won lots of trophies for them, and they're all great bowlers. But it just sort of pushed me down the pecking order a little bit, hence me leaving. But it was just it's hard to put my finger on really. I think. It's hard to remember. I was when I played in 2010. I think I was 21 and did well. And it's hard to remember that I was still such a young man. So those years in 2011 and 12 and 13, I was still sort of figuring out who I was, still figuring out who I was as a bowler, still figuring out who I was as a cricketer. So I was just still doing a lot of learning there. So I still hadn't quite figured it out and figured out what type of bowler I was, despite the success I'd had in 2010.
Before you were released from Yorkshire, you did play in the Champions League. Your first two T20 games were in the Champions League in South Africa, when you played against the Lions and against the Chennai Super Kings, who had MS Dhoni playing. What was that like?
Well, I mean, it was great actually. So I'd not played all season. I think it was pretty apparent that I wasn't really in the plans and wasn't going to play for various reasons. And I got on that tour pretty much as a backup. I think that we had a few injuries. I was literally there as you were sort of going to be the last man who was going to play really. And we did have a few injuries. So, I think Siddy went down injured, Pato went down injured, Moeen Ashraf got injured. So it was like last two games we couldn't. I think we got through to a certain point in the tournament and we couldn't get any further. So I was playing the last two games, and it was absolutely brilliant because, like I said, I'd not played all summer. I was tearing my hair out, thinking, "Am I good enough to play? What am I doing?" I'm sort of going around in circles technically, try to reinvent myself every other week because I'm not in the team, so I must be doing something wrong technically, which probably wasn't the case, but I'd got myself into a bit of a mess. So to go play and just sort of have the shackles taken off a bit, because I had nothing to lose. We were playing a couple of T20 games that in reality didn't matter because we were sort of out of the competition. So to play, and I did pretty well to be honest, and played in front of massive crowds. So my first game was against the Highveld Lions, and they were the home team. It was, in Johannesburg at their home ground. So there were about 20,000 people there watching. I think they might have been there to watch the Chennai Super Kings and the Mumbai Indians game that was going on after the game. But, I'd like to say that they were all there watching me. But yeah, to play, I did pretty well. I think I got a couple of wickets in each game and didn't go for many runs. So sort of just to prove to myself, maybe I'm not that bad, despite having a poor year. And like I said, not being in Yorkshire's plans, I think those two games sort of proved to myself, maybe I'm not that bad a bowler because, they're two pretty hard games to play. Like you mentioned, Chennai Super Kings and Highfield Lions. So to play them and do okay, I think I sort of proved to myself, maybe I'm not too bad at this bowling malarkey.
No, just for listeners, these games were played in October 2012, so the summer season in the UK is finished. And a silly question, but is it still your ambition to play in the 100?
First of all, sorry, I should have explained earlier about the Champions League. It was a brilliant competition in that Yorkshire didn't win the T20 that year; they came second. So every top two teams and all over the world, New Zealand, India, South Africa, wherever, all went to a place to play in the Champions League, and it was brilliant. It was such a brilliant tournament. You're having breakfast and Sachin Tendulkar walks in. Brett Lee was there with the Sydney Sixers. It was just this surreal environment to be in as a 22-year-old lad who, like I say, hadn't had the best season for Yorkshire, and all of a sudden, you're having a beer with Brett Lee at night and whatnot. It was just absolutely brilliant. So it's a bit of a shame, really. It still doesn't go on because it was a fantastic tournament. But sorry, to say about the 100, if I got a chance to play in the 100, I'd love it. I really would. For various reasons, I didn't play T20 cricket this year, which is a bit of a shame. But, if the opportunity came up to play in the 100 against the best players in a new format, I know it's a bit of a controversial format, but to play on terrestrial telly against the best players in the country, the best players in the world, I think I'll be in that tournament. To get a chance to do that, I think will be absolutely unbelievable.
Well, I'd say the competition's probably even more important than ever now, I think, the 100.
Yeah, obviously, I think a lot of money's been pumped into it. And like you said, given what's gone on this year and what I mentioned earlier about the finances in the game, I think everyone in the game needs this competition to be a success. So whether I'm involved or not, I think we all need to see it be successful. Definitely.
Well, you joined Warwickshire in 2013. They were then the county champions. They'd got Ian Bell, Jonathan Trott, Jeetan Patel, Tim Ambrose, Ricky Clark, Chris Wokes. How was it different playing for Warwickshire?
Well, just going into a different changing room. Like you said, like we've mentioned here, I sort of grew up at Yorkshire, a little bit part of the furniture type thing. So just to go into a completely new environment was scary, but also really exciting because in any work environment, if you're there for long enough, certain things happen where people set opinions on you or whatnot. You might get pigeonholed in being one type of player or one type of person. So just to have the totally blank canvas, just to say, right, I can sort of reinvent myself here, fresh start. There's no one's got any opinions on me whatsoever. I can sort of do what I want. Was really, really exciting because it's probably safe to say at Yorkshire that I'd sort of been pigeonholed a bit of a red ball player only. I didn't play much white ball. I'm not sure they thought I was any good at white ball. So to be able to flip that around and almost go out of my way at Warwickshire to say, no, I really want to play white ball cricket. I'm dead keen to play white ball as well as red ball and whatnot was exciting.
And am I right in saying in 2013 you had some injuries?
Yeah, so it started really well 2013 for me. I was in the side, played well to start with, and then we played a game on telly at Taunton, and I bowled rubbish, to be honest. I bowled terribly that game. We got hammered by Somerset. They were all over us, and then as sort of fate would have it, I had to bat out the last hour and a half, 2 hours with Ricky Clark to save the game. And very early on in that innings, I got whacked on the arm by Alfonso Thomas, and I didn't know at the time. I was like, gosh, that's a sore arm. But as it turned out, it broke my arm. So we managed to bat out for the draw. So pretty cool that I managed to. So, and it was just a little bit of a sore arm at the time. It felt sore and it wasn't very comfortable. But obviously, don't let the truth get in the way of a good story type thing. To bat with a broken arm for an hour and a half to save a game, is what I'll be telling the grandkids. And I think that honestly really helped me, because I was only on a 1-year deal at Warwickshire. So to do that, I think really helped me, because I then obviously had to rest the broken arm for 6 weeks. And in my haste to come back, bowled far too much, far too quickly. I think my first week back from my broken arm in the second team, I bowled 60 overs, just try to get back in the first team. And I had a sore back pretty much immediately. You know, I was stiff and I was sore in the back straight away. And lo and behold, stress fracture pretty quickly. And I think that batting performance where, I batted with a broken arm for an hour or so, I think that really helped me, because the club did give me another contract. And I think the club sort of thought, he must have a little bit about himself if he's batted with a broken arm for an hour. So I think that did help me. So I haven't said this too many times in my career, but I think my batting really helped me there. So,
well, we're not renowned for your batting, but 2014 became a very successful year for you, being part of a winning team in the T20 competition and also reaching the final of the One Day Cup.
Yeah.
So what would you like to say about that amazing year?
Well, I had a point to prove. I mean, like I said, the year before, I'd done okay. I was probably lucky to get another deal, another 1-year contract. And like I say, it was probably to do that batting performance. So I had a point to prove. I wanted to prove to this club that had just signed me that, you know, I was a good cricketer, I was a good bowler. So I had the bit between my teeth, really. And it was a great year for the club. I mean, you mentioned the white ball competitions there, but we came second in the championship as well. And I think I played half those games as well. So to finish first, second and second in all competitions was pretty ridiculous, and it's not often done that by many teams, where you do well across all competitions. And we just got on a roll there. It was this brilliant feeling throughout the whole club. And I don't know where it started, but we'd win a T20 game, and the day after we'd be starting a 4-dayer, and we'd just be like, yeah, we'll be fine here, we'll win this as well. And the day after that, we'll be playing a 50-over game. We're like, yeah, we got this, we can beat these guys easily. And we just got on this ridiculous roll where we're just unbeatable. It was just ridiculous. And that momentum in all sports is really important, and it's safe to say we got on a massive roll. And it was certainly an exciting time to be in the Warwickshire dressing room. It was brilliant.
Well, in the T20 final, actually, you got 3 for 31 against Lancashire, a four-run win. How exciting was it to play in the final and win the final at Edgbaston as well?
Well, yeah, I mean, that was the thing. The whole day was brilliant, but to win it at Edgbaston in front of our home fans, and then the celebrations in the changing room after with the team and the squad and all the office staff and all the ground staff, everyone who works at Warwickshire were there. That was really, really special. So yeah, to win the T20 final was epic, but to do it at home in our home ground as well was extra special. So yeah, that was brilliant.
And then in 2016, you won the one-day final at Lord's against Surrey.
Yeah.
I noticed you got Kumar Sangakkara out in the final.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that day, I didn't really know if I was going to play or not. We turned up the day before, and it was a used pitch. So we're like, it was sort of between me and Josh Poisden, who's the leg spinner. It was like, who's going to play, really, out of me and him. And then we saw the pitch was used, and I was like, Josh is going to play for definite here. And then sort of the morning of the game, it's overcast, it's muggy, and then it turned out the pitch was used, but it had been glued or something. I don't really know how groundsmen do these things, but it had been glued, so it sort of might seam around. So it turns out I was playing, and they got off to an absolute flyer. Jason Roy was whacking it all over. I don't know who he opened the batting. Might have opened batting with Rory Burns, but certainly Jason Roy was absolutely whacking it. They were 40 for none off 6 overs, something ridiculous. And then Laurie Evans took a great one-handed catch at mid-wicket off Chris Wright. And literally from that moment on, everything just went perfectly for us. I bowled well, Jeetan Patel bowled well, Tiki Javi bowled well, Chris Wright bowled well. Chris Wokes, obviously, he bowled great. Just everything just went absolutely perfectly. And yeah, luckily, Sangakkara, Kumar managed to nick a half volley down the hill, and Tim took it, which was really nice. But yeah, it was an amazing feeling, and the lads were very kind. They let me, because I bowled well, they let me lead the team off the field. So to walk through the long room and have everyone clap us through the long room was sort of an amazing feeling to lead that team off. And it was daft because, we had our tea. The food at Lord's is renowned for being amazing. And 50 runs into our run chase when we were 50 for not many down. It was like, we've won this. It was a ridiculous feeling to think that at 3 o'clock on a Lord's final, like, well, we've won this. We've done this. It's ours to lose now. We did it. So that was a great day. Really, really good fun. And obviously the game finished pretty early. We finished by 4 o'clock. So the celebrations were starting pretty early.
Well, it must have felt good having lost the final in 2014 as well.
Yeah, and I've mentioned earlier about unfinished business. Yeah, 2014 was a great year. Like I say, we finished first, second, and second, but we sort of felt we had a bit of a point to prove there because notoriously Lord's finals in September, the toss is and we lost that toss, and we essentially opened the batting in 2014 in fog. It was ridiculous. It was seaming everywhere, and still did pretty well. I think Jeetan Patel bowled the spell of his life that game. And we still came pretty close to winning. So we definitely felt like in 2016 we sort of had a point to prove because we felt like we'd been maybe a bit hard done by in 2014. Well,
if we move forward to 2019, you got 44 wickets for Warwickshire, and you also received your county cap.
Yeah.
That must have been a proud thing for you to get your cap.
Getting capped has been on my to-do list, ever since I, became a player at Yorkshire. To be a capped county cricketer is a special thing. It means you're a good county cricketer, really. And as you've said there, through the period from when I joined the club to later on in red ball cricket, I was sort of maybe in and out of the team. We had a great red ball side, but in the bowling department, Ricky Clark, Keith Barker, Chris Wright, Chris Wokes, Boyd Rankin, all these guys were ahead of me, really. So I just had to bide my time. And in the years from when I joined to 2019, I was just sort of filling in, really. If they got injured, I'd come in and play a game, and that was quite difficult, really, because there was games in those previous years where I bowled really well and sort of knew I would be out the side the week after because one of those guys were coming back. So that was tough. So I bided my time, and they are obviously all great bowlers. And I sort of had to wait for my opportunity to play, which came in 2019. So to do that and to prove to myself that I was a good first-class bowler still, and to prove to the club that I could open the ball in first-class cricket was really, really satisfying. And then to sort of culminate at the end of the year getting my county cap was really, really special moment for me. And
this year, the Bob Willis Trophy, obviously been a very strange year. Were you raring to go in August, and how was your fitness when you started?
So much like most of the country, I kept myself pretty fit. The weather was glorious through lockdown, wasn't it? So I was able to keep myself really fit, and just little silly stuff like I'd go down to the local cricket club and bowl in the nets on my own, and bowl a little spell, and imagine who I might be opening the ball into in a few months' time if it happened. So I did keep myself ticking over. So when we eventually got out of lockdown, we were able to train. I was in a pretty good state of repair. So just to get out and play cricket this summer was just absolutely brilliant. There were times in lockdown where I thought we've got absolutely no chance here. So just to get out and play was amazing and really, 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 really good.
And how was it mentally playing without anybody in the ground? I know county cricket gets a bit of a stick because my dad goes and it's always this one man and a dog, but there's a few more than a one man and a dog there. But what was it like with nobody there?
Pretty quickly it was pretty normal. I mean, you have to, obviously it's a massive shame there's no one there, and that is a big shame, and it's strange washing your hands every 6 overs. But pretty quickly I'm a first class cricketer, and at the other end is a first class batter try to whack me all over, and it's still first class cricket. It's still competitive, hard, tough first class cricket. So yeah, without a doubt, we all want the crowd there, and we definitely want people watching cricket as soon as possible. But the standard of cricket and the competition didn't really change. I didn't play T20 this year, but I think it'd have been a lot stranger in T20 where the crowd's obviously a bit bigger and players are probably a bigger part in the game, getting sort of into the game. So I think that'd have been a bit different. But certainly in the first class stuff I played this year, it was still really good competitive first class cricket. That's what I'd say.
Well, you've had a successful season, 25 wickets. You've now taken 200 first class wickets, and in your second game you got 12 wickets in the game against Gloucestershire.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it was just like I say, it was nice to play this year and nice to take some wickets. I mean, I'd exchanged a few of those wickets for a few more wins as a team. There's a couple of games we should have won, that Gloucester game being one of them, and a bit later on against Glamorgan, I think we should have probably won that game as well. So it'd have been nice to get a few more wins, but from a personal point of view, yeah, to take some wickets and kick on where I had from where I'd finished 2019 was really, really satisfying. So yeah, I was pretty pleased with my work this summer.
And I noticed in the last game you scored 19. Are you going to get a maiden 50 one day?
Literally, you jest there. I mean, I said my to-do list had been county capped. To get county capped, on my to-do list as well is to try and get a 50. A first-class 50 would be definitely close to the top of my to-do list in county cricket. Yeah.
I think Phil Tufnell only got one first-class 50, and you always hear him talk about that. But hopefully, that's something you can tick off the list one day.
Yeah, and that's the problem being a tail ender is they always let you down at the other end as well. You know, if I'm in the form of my life one day and I'm in, you know, if the guy at the other end gets out, then that's it, then isn't it? You know, it's rubbish.
Now, one thing that unfortunately you won't be able to do this winter is go on tour. And last winter, in November, you went to Nepal, and near the Himalayas, and in February, you went to Pakistan. How did those two opportunities come about?
Well, I knew an MCC tour to Nepal was coming up, and I'd sort of put my hand up for that from a long way out, maybe a year out, saying, yeah, that's something I definitely want to do. There were some great lads on the tour. We had a few Warwickshire players in Will Rhodes, and Alex Thompson was on the tour as well, and Chris Wright and Exper was on the tour as well. So that was great. Just a brilliant experience just to go to Nepal, a country I'd never normally visit, and they're just cricket mad. I didn't realise how cricket mad they are. You know, it's essentially northern. It's on the North India. It borders northern India. That's what I'm trying to say. So they're just cricket mad. Absolutely love the cricket there, and just to be able to play cricket in that environment where people are cricket crazy and you know, you got the Himalayas surrounding you was just, yeah, really, really special. Really great fun, great tour. And then the Pakistan one was just, I don't know how long, you know, that had been in the pipeline from the MCC, but that happened pretty quickly. You know, maybe Christmas time or just after, there was this sort of email came around saying that, you know, there's a tour to Pakistan to take cricket back there. Do you fancy it? And I was like, yeah, of course, I'd love to go there. So it was captained by Kumar Sangakkara. It was great storyline that he was obviously involved in those terrorist attacks 10 years ago. So for him to take a cricket tour back to Pakistan was pretty special for him. And again, was just a brilliant experience to sort of take cricket back to Pakistan after all those years and be the first MCC side or the first English side to go there in such a long time was absolutely fantastic. And again, we got a brilliant reception. There were thousands there watching us. It was just a brilliant experience and a great thing to be part of.
Yeah, as an MCC member myself, the MCC do a vital role in developing the game, going on these sort of tours. When you were in Pakistan, how did you feel safety-wise?
Well, I'm not gonna lie, it was pretty daunting. You get off the plane and there's a security guard there from the army with an AK-47, and you get onto this bus and you think, well, this is a bit dingy, this bus, and then you realise the walls are a foot thick, and you know the windows are only tiny little portholes like in these ships. So that was a bit daunting. So you thought, gosh, what have I got myself into? And then pretty quickly it was like it was just a bit of overkill. Like any time we moved in the city, we played most of our games at a school called the Edgbaston College, which would be about a 300-yard walk from our hotel door over a dual carriageway. Obviously, knowing how dual carriageways work, you know, we could have walked there, but we weren't allowed. So we had to get on the dual carriageway, drive up a mile to the roundabout, go around the roundabout and drive back again to go to Edgbaston College. And they shut the city. For us to make this 2-minute journey, the roads are shut for just half an hour before, half an hour after. So we get on this bus and you see these lines of traffic waiting for us to take. And you're thinking, we could have walked this easily and like it wouldn't matter. And they were just like, no, security says we've got to do this. So it was massive. You know, we felt like 100% safe because of all these measures in place. There was a bit of a felt you think, oh, we're not this important. We don't need all the security. You know, we'd happily walk across the road just to go to school. But you know, we felt safe. You know, like I said, it was a bit daunting to start with, but pretty quickly it became, we're safe here, and we're being very well looked after.
And the cricket was a good standard, because I see you had Samit Patel, Ravi Bopara were also on the trip. Yeah, and again, like Will Rhodes again was on the trip, just from Warwickshire. So it was a good standard, and we played some good teams. We played Pakistan here, we played the Multan Sultans, who were a PSL side, and we played Lahore Qalandars as well. So it was a really good standard of cricket. It was really, really good. And do you think England should go across to Pakistan in January? Well, I mean, I don't know what the dates are, but I mean, I would imagine it's imminent. I think Pakistan, certainly from when I went there, they did everything they possibly could to make us feel safe. Don't get me wrong, we weren't allowed out of the hotel at all, so you did feel a bit stuck in the hotel. We were there for a week, and after a week, getting a bit sort of claustrophobic now. You'd like to get out and about a bit more. So the England guys, they'd be there for a lot longer. So I don't know how that would be. But also, I think Pakistan did us a big favour coming over this summer, didn't they? Being in the bubble and playing over here, I think they did us a big favour. So I would imagine we owe them one back. So whether they go in January, whether they go in a few years' time, I'm not sure. But I think it's pretty imminent. And I think Pakistan is, a cricketing powerhouse, isn't it? And it's such a shame that cricket can't be played there. So I think for Pakistan as a country, I think for a side like England to go on a tour would be brilliant. Well, I certainly agree there. Both Pakistan and the West Indies, we owe them both a great debt, and county cricket must owe them a great debt as well for coming over and playing this summer. Yeah, definitely. I mean, just from a cricket fan point of view, just to be able to, instead of the monotony of lockdown, just for that cricket to be on telly was just an absolute godsend, wasn't it? Just for the normality of a day watching the cricket, and the punditry starting at 10:30 and finishing at 6:30, and just the nice rhythm to a day watching the cricket and having your lunch at 1:00 and then tea at 4 was just that was a lovely. And just a lovely thing in the middle of a horrible time, wasn't it? Just to be able to watch all that. Oh, I agree there. I think with people being furloughed, I think I probably watched more cricket on my television because you just couldn't go to a game this summer. So. And it was great. It was great cricket as well, wasn't it? Both the West Indies and the Pakistan series were brilliant games of cricket. Yeah, there were so many highlights. And the future for yourself, obviously hoping to play for several more years. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm 31 now, but I like to keep myself pretty fit. So certainly my intention to play as long as I possibly can, and keep sort of doing what I'm doing. I've played a lot of red ball cricket these last few years. I certainly haven't given up on white ball cricket either. So I'd like to get back into the T20 side and the 50 over side if I can, but just to keep playing as long as I possibly can and keep taking wickets. I love doing what I do. So as long as I can keep doing that, I'll keep doing it. Well, thank you very much for being with me on the paddock and the pavilion this morning, and the very best of luck for the future. No, thank you very much for having me. I've enjoyed it. Take care, and hopefully see you in the flesh sometime. Hopefully, yeah. Thank you very much. I would like to give special thanks to Margot Webley for her PR work and voiceovers on the paddock and the pavilion.
Thank you for listening to the Paddock and the Pavilion. You can download the show on Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Stitcher and Spotify. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook at The Pad and Pav.
Sports Social Podcast Network.
Judy was boring.
Hello.
Then Judy discovered ChumbaCasino.com.
It's my little escape.
Now Judy's the life of the party.
Oh, baby, mama's bringing home the bacon.
Whoa, take it easy, Judy. The Chumba life is for everybody. So go to ChumbaCasino.com and play over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.